I met her at my company's summer party. Her name was Sabrina. She wasn't just beautiful. She was the kind of beautiful that made silence in a crowded room. Blonde hair, perfect smile, confidence that could melt walls. She laughed at my jokes, even the bad ones. I remember thinking, maybe I finally got lucky. We talked about music, travel, dreams, and somehow it all felt effortless. By the end of the night, she gave me her number. I texted her before I even got home. She replied instantly with a heart emoji. A week later, we had dinner at a rooftop restaurant downtown. She wore a red dress that made every head turn. When she smiled, I forgot how to breathe. The waiter handed me the check, and she smiled again. "I'll get the next one," she said sweetly. She never did. That became her pattern. Coffee, brunch, movies, dinners, always me paying. At first, I didn't mind. I thought that's what caring boyfriends do. Besides, she always had the perfect excuse. Forgot her wallet. Waiting for her paycheck. Helping her sick grandmother. She said it with such sincerity. I believed every word. My friends noticed first. Jake told me she was too polished to be real. I laughed it off. I wanted to believe she was genuine. She texted constantly, but turned her phone over when I looked. "Just the girls," she'd say with a nervous giggle. I thought it was cute. Now I know it was cover. She talked about luxury brands, like someone who lived in that world. Gucci, Prada, Tesla, vacations in Bali. But she worked part-time at a small boutique. Nothing added up, but I didn't care. I was intoxicated by the way she looked at me. When she wrapped her arms around me, logic disappeared. I started buying her things I couldn't afford. A designer bag for her new job. A weekend trip to celebrate our 6 months. She made me feel like a hero. Like she couldn't live without me. Every time she said, "I love you," I believed it a little more. Even when she canceled plans last minute, I forgave her. She always had some sweet excuse that softened every doubt. Then she'd post pictures online, smiling, glamorous, glowing. I felt proud just to stand next to her. She was the kind of woman that made other men jealous. And that made me feel invincible. But every time Jake warned me, I ignored him. He said she was using me. I said he was bitter. I didn't see the truth right in front of me. I thought love was supposed to cost something. I just didn't realize the price would be my self-respect. Looking back, every red flag was waving in neon lights. I just chose to look at her smile instead. Because when you're blinded by desire, the truth can sit right beside you. And you'll still call it love. It started on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Sabrina came over around noon, smiling like always. We watched TV, ordered food, nothing unusual. Then her phone rang, and everything changed. She looked panicked, said it was her roommate. Something about a water leak, an emergency. She grabbed her purse and rushed out. "Love you," she said, kissing my cheek. 30 seconds later, she was gone. Her phone was still on my coffee table. Unlocked. Buzzing with messages. I stared at it for a long time, unsure. Then curiosity won. The first preview said, "Girl, you're insane. Your sugar daddy has no clue." My chest tightened. Sugar daddy. That couldn't be me, right? I picked it up, hands shaking. The phone was open to a group chat. Bad Girls Club. 3 people. Sabrina, Jenna, and Ashley. At the top was a screenshot of a spreadsheet. The title read "The List." 28 names, dates, and dollar amounts. My name was number 27. Ethan, total extracted $3,200. Current primary target. Below mine was number 28. Dan, $600. Sealed the deal last night. I couldn't breathe. Each name had notes beside it. Married, generous, too trusting. It wasn't a list of exes. It was a business ledger. She was tracking men like customers. I scrolled down. Then came the messages. Just sealed the deal with 28, Sabrina wrote. While Ethan thinks I'm visiting my grandma. Ashley replied, girl, you're evil. Sabrina. He even sent me $150 for gas and meds. Laughter emojis filled the chat. My stomach turned. Every word cut deeper than the last. I kept scrolling through months of conversations. She called me Ethan the bank. Another guy, Dan the lawyer. They joked about dinners, gifts, and vacations. Screenshots of payment apps. Photos of jewelry captioned, courtesy of Sucker 15. Even pictures of me, smiling beside her. Underneath she'd written, the reliable ATM. It felt like my world split in half. She hadn't just lied. She'd engineered everything. Every laugh. Every kiss. Every I love you. All scripted for profit. My hands were numb. I wanted to throw the phone, but I couldn't look away. There were strategies in those messages. How to fake emergencies. How to juggle multiple men without overlap. How to extract more money by pretending to cry. It wasn't love. It was a job. And I was her paycheck. I scrolled to our anniversary date. She told them she planned to order the most expensive steak and fake affection. They laughed about how I was too desperate to notice. That night, I'd spent $450 trying to make her happy. She had spent it mocking me. I sat there for hours, reading every word. By the time the phone went silent, my heart had gone with it. Love died that night. All that remained was the cold, heavy truth. I had been nothing more than a number on her list. I sat there staring at the screen, heart pounding. Anger burned hotter than shock. Every word she wrote replayed in my head like poison. I wanted to scream, to confront her, to destroy her lies. But then I remembered something my best friend Jake always said. The best revenge is quiet, calculated, and unforgettable. So I called him. He answered on the first ring. Bro, you sound like death. What happened? I told him everything. Every message. Every lie. Every dollar. There was silence for a few seconds. Then Jake said, we're not just getting even, we're ending her game. He told me to screenshot everything. Every chat. Every transaction. Every phone. Save them in multiple places, he said. Cloud, hard drive, email. Don't leave a trace missing. We talked for hours, planning in the dark. I could feel my fury sharpening into something colder. Jake's sister worked for a high-end catering company. They handled events for wealthy families, including Sabrina's parents. Her family was hosting their annual Christmas charity gala in 3 weeks. 200 guests. Local elites. Business owners. The perfect audience for the truth. She always talks about that event, I said. She wants to take me as her date. Jake laughed. Perfect. You'll be right beside her when the bomb drops. The plan started to form. We'd gather every piece of evidence and make it public. Not online, not through gossip, but in the one place she couldn't escape. In front of her family, friends, and everyone who thought she was perfect. We'd turn her lies into a slideshow. Jake said his sister could get access to the event's audio-visual system. They always played a presentation during the dinner. Photos, charity highlights, community work. He'd slip in a few new slides. The list. Screenshots of messages. The proof of every scam. It sounded insane. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. She built her reputation on lies. We destroy her with the truth. For the next few days, I acted normal. I smiled. Texted her sweetly. Told her I missed her. She came over, kissed me like nothing happened. Every touch made me sick, but I stayed calm. She talked about the gala nonstop. Her parents' business connections. The dress she wanted. How proud they'd be of her. I nodded, pretending to care. When she asked for money for a new gown, I agreed instantly. $850 for her own humiliation. Jake called it poetic justice. We met every night, fine-tuning every detail. Timing, slides, backup drives. Everything had to be perfect. By the final week, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was focused. For 10 months, she'd played her game, using me for money and ego. Now it was my turn to play. But this time, the ending wouldn't be hers to write. The country club smelled like polished wood and expensive perfume. Valets in black pressed the door open as we walked inside. Sabrina held my arm like she owned the room. Her dress shimmered under the chandelier lights. She smiled at people who glanced our way. I kept my face calm, like a statue. The room buzzed with polite conversation and clinking glasses. Tables were arranged with floral centerpieces and name cards. A string quartet played soft music by the stage. For a moment, everything looked normal, almost festive. We greeted her parents with practiced warmth. They welcomed me like a future son-in-law. My chest felt heavy with the weight of what I knew. I ate small bites and listened to hollow compliments. Sabrina worked the crowd, laughing at every flattering line. Her eyes scanned the room for familiar faces. At 8, the lights dimmed for the presentation. Slides of charity achievements began to flow across the screen. Photos of past events faded in and out. People clapped politely for volunteers and donors. Then Jake's first slide appeared, subtle and ordinary. It read Community Spotlights, Young Professionals. Sabrina leaned in, whispering that she was included. A photo of her, in a flattering pose, filled the screen. She beamed with obvious pride and excitement. The next slide popped up without warning. A screenshot of her phone filled the projection. My stomach dropped as the title read, the list. Rows of names, dates, and dollar amounts stared back. A hush fell quickly across the crowded room. Sabrina's smile froze like glass cracking. Someone murmured, "What is that?" from the back. Her father stood up, his face flushing red. Slide after slide revealed more damning proof. Screenshots of group chats scrolled like a confession. Messages calling men, suckers, and ATMs flashed loud and clear. Photos of expensive dinners, with captions revealed the lie. Transfer confirmations and receipts glued the pieces together. I watched her hands tremble as the images rolled. She bolted toward the stage in a panic. Guests looked stunned, some reaching for their phones. Her mother covered her mouth and began to cry. Neighbors who once smiled now turned away in disgust. Derek, a man in a suit nearby, stood frozen and pale. His wife looked at him with betrayal in her eyes. Someone shouted for the slideshow to stop immediately. But the projection kept playing, relentless and merciless. I felt no joy in her humiliation, only relief. The room split between shock, anger, and whispered gossip. Sabrina screamed that the images were fake and hacked. Her voice trembled through the stunned silence like glass. She tried to explain, but the proof was overwhelming. Her words became thin, like smoke in a draft. People who once admired her now recoiled in shame. Her parents faced her with grief and disbelief. Guests who were her friends now avoided her gaze. She ran from the room, heels clicking down the hall. I remained seated steady, as chaos swirled around me. Conversations erupted into furious debates and hurried exits. Some families left immediately, unwilling to stay another second. The caterers whispered. The staff replayed the images in their heads. My phone buzzed with messages from men I'd never met. Derek texted me asking for answers and proof. Others sent me photos they'd found in their own inboxes. Her father found me at my table, voice low and trembling. He asked for the truth in a tone of a broken man. I told him what I'd seen and where the screenshots came from. He took out a checkbook and insisted on making amends. Patricia wept softly, apologizing between ragged breaths. Outside, The night air felt colder than before. Sabrina's car sped away, tail lights disappearing into black. People muttered about lawsuits and reputations destroyed in minutes. The gala that promised charity had become a public trial. I left with my coat heavy and my heart hollow. Revenge had arrived exactly as planned, cold and final. But even as the adrenaline faded, the weight carried on. I realized some truths, once revealed, never truly heal. The next morning felt unreal, like a dream I couldn't wake from. News of the gala spread faster than wildfire. People were talking, posting, whispering in every corner of town. Sabrina's name was everywhere, but never in a kind way. Her family went silent, their social media wiped clean overnight. I sat in my apartment, scrolling through messages from strangers. Some thanked me. Some wanted details. Some just wanted to know if it was all true. It was. Every single word. By noon, Jake called, laughing in disbelief. "You started a local legend, man," he said. I didn't feel proud. I felt empty, like revenge had drained everything inside me. That night, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Sabrina stood there. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen from crying. She wore the same dress from the gala, wrinkled and stained. "Ethan, please," she whispered, voice trembling. "I just need to talk." I wanted to shut the door, but something in me hesitated. She stepped inside, shaking. "I lost everything," she said. "My parents kicked me out, my job gone, everyone hates me." Tears rolled down her face as she spoke. "I know I hurt you, but you have to believe I never meant it." I stared at her, wondering if she even believed her own words. "You scammed me for 10 months, I said. "You lied to me, cheated on me, and laughed about it." She nodded slowly, like she couldn't argue. "I made mistakes, but I loved you, Ethan. I still do." "You loved my money," I said quietly. She flinched, gripping the edge of the table for balance. "I'll pay you back, every dollar. I'll do anything." I shook my head. "It's not about money, it's about who you are." She sank to her knees, sobbing into her hands. "I can't find a place to stay. I can't even go outside." Her voice cracked under the weight of her own ruin. "Please, don't leave me like this." I stood silent for a long time. Part of me pitied her. But pity isn't forgiveness. "Sabrina," I said finally, "you built your world on lies, now it's collapsing." She looked up, eyes wide and desperate. "So you're just going to let me be homeless?" "You're 24, I said. "You'll survive, you just have to face it." She covered her face and sobbed harder. I walked to the door, opened it, and looked back once. "For what it's worth," I said, "I hope you learn something from this." Then I left her there, crying on the floor, her world reduced to dust. That night I couldn't sleep. Every image from the gala replayed in my mind. Her father's face, her mother's tears, her scream echoing through the ballroom. Revenge had been perfect, but perfection doesn't always bring peace. I realized justice can be loud, but healing is always quiet. And sometimes silence is the cruelest ending of all. Days passed, and the storm didn't fade. Every social circle in town knew Sabrina's name. Every whisper carried a new version of her downfall. I tried to move on, but her shadow lingered in every conversation. Jake called me 2 days later, voice filled with disbelief. "You won't believe this," he said. "She's been calling my sister nonstop. She thinks if she deletes everything online, it'll disappear. She still doesn't understand the internet never forgets." I sighed, tired of hearing her name. But fate wasn't done with her story yet. A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Sabrina's father. His voice was low, almost broken. "Ethan, I wanted to thank you," he said. "You saved us from something far darker than we knew." He paused before continuing. "We discovered she forged our signatures on credit accounts. She stole jewelry, electronics, even artwork from our home. She's been doing this for months. I didn't know what to say. She's facing multiple felony charges, he said quietly. The district attorney called it organized financial crime. It hit me like another wave of disbelief. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was criminal. I thanked him for calling, though I didn't feel victorious. It just felt tragic. By Friday, the story reached local news outlets. Headlines read, "Socialite exposed for romance fraud scheme." People who once adored her now mocked her publicly. Every photo of her became a symbol of deceit. Jake sent me a link to the article, captioned with one line. Game over. Sabrina was arrested that same weekend. Mugshot, charges, bond hearing. It was all online by Monday. Her face looked hollow, like all the lies had finally drained her soul. Her parents cut all contact, cooperating fully with prosecutors. 8 men came forward with similar stories. She had manipulated them all. Some married, some single, all deceived the same way. The prosecutor called it the most elaborate emotional fraud case in years. Her trial didn't take long. The evidence was overwhelming. Spreadsheets, screenshots, bank transfers, everything documented. She was sentenced to 3 years in state prison. 5 years probation after release. Restitution to every victim, totaling over $47,000. When the news alert appeared on my phone, I didn't cheer. I just sat there quiet. Justice felt heavy, not sweet. That night, Jake and I met for drinks. He raised his glass with a grin. To poetic justice, he said. I clinked my glass against his, but said nothing. My mind drifted to Sabrina behind bars, alone and forgot. Maybe for the first time, she was facing the truth she'd spent years avoiding. Months later, I started dating someone new. Her name was Lily. A nurse with kind eyes and a real laugh. She paid for her own coffee, opened doors for herself, and asked nothing from me but honesty. For the first time in years, life felt normal again. Sometimes Jake still jokes about the list, but I don't laugh much. Because in the end, it wasn't about revenge. It was about seeing how lies always destroy their maker. And knowing that, finally, the game was truly over. 6 months later, everything felt distant, like a story that happened to someone else. The noise faded. The messages stopped. Life slowly returned to normal. Lily and I built something quiet, something real. No lies, no games, no pretending. Sometimes I still think about Sabrina, sitting in that cell. Maybe she finally understands what truth costs. Maybe she doesn't. Either way, it's no longer my burden to carry. Jake still laughs when he remembers that night at the gala. He calls it the greatest revenge story ever told. But for me, it wasn't revenge anymore. It was revelation. I learned that love without honesty is just manipulation dressed in charm. That beauty without soul is nothing but a mask. And that justice, when it comes, never needs to shout. It just arrives quietly, when no one's watching. Sabrina wanted to play games and keep score. She got exactly what she asked for. Now everyone knows who she truly was. And for the first time in a long time, I can finally breathe.